Gross. This is a Mitsubishi HS-U110C. The C stands for Canada.
Oh!
Yeah, let's see what it does. It's good so far. Power. A blue screen. Don't see any. Oh, there's the on-screen display. Cool. Okay. Before I put a tape in, I'm gonna pull the cover off of this because I want to see what it does. Cover is easy enough to remove. There's just 2 screws, one on either side here and there. And yeah, it's a 4-head model. Oh, it's a little dirty in there, a little crunchy. 4-head, 2 and 2, dual azimuth, no hi-fi stereo. There's the interesting location for the mode switch encoder. Power supply is all on this side with this very high-tech piece of insulative PVC. Oh yeah, let's see what it does. Oof, none of this sounds happy. That's interesting. So it didn't power off. It tried loading the tape, and the take-up reel worked, but I could hear a motor struggling. So there sounds like there was a belt slipping, but it could be the belt that was trying to finish the loading process here. Let's hit play again. Oh.
Trees into the right, so it's just a very fair, long, tough golf hole.
And every September, number 4 plays to an average of 4.36 strokes.
Got no picture at all. That's pause. Fast forward.
At 466 yards, number 5 is the culmination.
Try to fast forward. Rewind. Well, other than just being like really stiff, because it's probably been sitting in it has been sitting in a dirty garage for decades, it seems to be working okay. I'm gonna get a CRT and see if we can see, maybe it's just dirty heads. It's probably dirty heads. Alright, let's give it another go. What? 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 But I just... Okay. Let's go back to the big TV. I am very confused right now. Okay. So, on the big TV.
File down the middle. You can get lost in the left.
Alright, I think this VCR just had to wake up. Bizarre, but I mean, now it seems to be working just beautifully.
On your right.
Look at that pause. That is excellent, excellent pause. Same thing with the scan. Do rewind. It's nice and fast, very responsive. It's got a display button on the front, as well as a programming button on the front. So even though I don't have the remote, don't really need it, this is a nice little machine. Huh. Well, I wonder if the circuit board, yeah, the circuit board goes all underneath there. I want to take a look at the underside. I might still pop it out anyway, because, like, why not? Alright, I think to open this up, it's the usual. This front cover clips on. There's 2 clips on the top, 3 on the bottom, and then 1 on either side, and it just pops off. And this whole mechanism looks like it connects with these 2 connectors that sort of wedge in, so you kind of hinge it up and pull. Screw, 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 and then there's 2 here, 1 there, 1 there. Alright, I was a little wrong about just lifting this guy out. There was some screws on the underside that mounted it to the circuit board, so I didn't even bother taking the bottom panel off. I guess I probably could have just done that, but I just took the whole circuit board out. It was just easier. Once the whole circuit board's out, you can disconnect that remaining screw, and then it just pivots up, pop out of these 2 connectors, and there we go. The guts. So, the underside, we've got 1 belt coming from the capstan. It's a little slack. Actually, it's quite slack. That's kind of spongy. Yeah. I'm actually surprised it worked. Alright, it's your head motor. There's gear, all the grease is kind of turning gray here, but it almost looks like there's other grease that's been added. I know this has a VCR service shop sticker on it, so it has been worked on. And the screws here and here on either side weren't even screwed in all the way. So it's definitely been worked on in the past. Here's your loading up here. Get a big cam gear from the looks of it. Goes to there. Then goes to this spiral gear, which is off this motor with a belt. So there's a belt here, and there's a belt there. This actually has more belts than that old Mitsubishi that I was working on. It's kind of funny. Everyone was going to less belts, they went to more. And take a look at the top. It's got that drop down pinch roller that apparently is better for the tape, where it pulls the tape out a little bit, so it's got less of a hard angle when it comes out. Idler is all gear, which is nice. Modern style brakes. And tension band there. 2 brakes, 2 brakes. You can see the loading motor from up here. I'm tempted. I think I am gonna just like clean this mode switch. I didn't get it on camera, but it was kind of doing some weird things when I went to go eject the tape. It just started, you know, trying to wind up the slack and doing a bunch of weird things. So this, I think, given how dirty it is in here, this needs a good cleaning. You know, I changed my mind on taking apart this mode switch. This is going to be a right pain in the ass. I have to pop this cover off the pinch roller, pull the pinch roller drop down assembly off. Then I gotta take this big massive gear out, which will mean that I'd have to get all the timing right putting it back in. And as I lift this whole assembly out, this mode switch kind of lifts out a little bit, and then I can unclip it from here, lift it up, very carefully take it apart and clean it. And as luck would have it, I'm out of contact cleaner anyway, so there's just a little bit left, and I'm just gonna, once I get this mode switch spinning around, I'm just gonna spray what I have left in here and hope that it cleans it well enough, because I don't want to take all this apart. And whoever had this before luckily has re-greased everything, but they went a little overboard, so every time I touch anything that shouldn't have grease on it, I get grease on my fingers. It's kind of a mess, but at least I know this is all lubed up fairly recently. Alright, this is weird. I put it all back together and it plays, it fast forward scan, rewind scan, but it won't fast forward or rewind, and it makes kind of a bit of a squeaking sound. So I thought, alright, maybe I should have replaced that big belt that was a little squishy. So I went in and replaced it, and I still don't have fast forward and rewind. So I've got play, I've got scanning, but if I just do a fast forward, see, that works, but it's like the idler assembly is not working. So try rewind. But see, that's spinning freely. I think that squeaking was just when this motor starts up. So what the hell's going on with the idler here? Unhappy machine. Let me go through this and take a look. Maybe something is not right here. Alright, I don't get it. Watch what happens when I spin the capstan myself. That's just fine. I think... I didn't take this apart, but maybe there is something off with the timing on there, because it clearly does something to prevent this from working. Okay, I think this is a timing issue. And one thing is, what it should do, in my mind, is when I put this tape in, the tape should be pushed down fully, then the tape should be pulled out and loaded. Watch what happens. When I push this in, it doesn't go down all the way until it starts to try and load the tape to the head. Then it goes down further, and that kind of seems like a timing issue. See? And then it pushes down further. That almost seems like it's like one tooth out. And I believe the timing of these gears will engage and disengage the take-up reels. I have to take this apart again to kind of understand how this works. But it seems weird to me that when I have the tape ejected, the capstan motor drives these. When I have it in play with the pinch roller engaged, the capstan motor will drive these perfectly. But when I hit fast forward or rewind, watch, it'll unload the pinch roller. And I feel like it's moving to a mode that doesn't have this connected. I think there must be, this is probably linked to the gear assembly in the idler. I hate timing issues. Alright, I've kind of run this manually through all the operations, and I can see most of the time both of these are engaged. Playback, only the take-up will engage, and then it can shift between this one and this one, which I believe is what it does for fast forward rewind. It'll actually move between two different ones. So I think I found where the timing marks are. There's a hole here, and there's a hole right, let's see if we can focus, maybe not, right there, and those both line up with another hole on this piece here. So you can see, if I stick, what I should be able to do is I should be able to stick this paper clip all the way through when they come around here and line up right at this notch. There's a little notch there. Let's get some light in here. See that little notch? And they're not. It looks like it's one tooth off. I don't know if I did that because I didn't take any of this out. But this thing's kind of flimsy. And yeah, I don't know. What have I got to lose, right? This is all about learning on old junk.
I'm learning.
I guess what I'm going to have to do is take this cover off, pop the pinch roller out, and then document very carefully where everything is. And I believe I just need to get this over a tooth. I think I can leave all of this the same. But hopefully there's also some timing marks coming out of this to the rest of the VCR, which I'm going to take a look at before I delve into this. Alright, check this out. I just hopped this over a tooth, marked what I did, and I just moved this over one tooth where I thought it would be. Now I've caused another problem, but what's interesting is I don't think it needed to be changed here. I changed the timing here and aligned what I thought were the two timing holes, but I will show you the issue. First off, it keeps... There we go. Now I didn't line up my little, that guy there, so yeah, it won't actually grab the tape, which is hilarious. But, fast forward. And rewind. Are now working. So clearly there was a timing issue. I've shifted it here, which has solved that, but I've taken other stuff out of alignment, and I'll show you what I think that is. Oh, maybe now it's working. Every once in a while it was trying to pull a tape in, thinking that there was a tape. Maybe that was the timing issue right there. I need to... Oh, now that's just me sticking my hand in there. Maybe I'll shut this off. I need to fix the alignment of this. I took a picture of it and then totally put all this back together, forgetting about this guy. So you saw I totally missed the mark. That's not a big deal. But yeah, I think shifting the timing over, the marks that I lined up, there's that hole. There's a hole that you have to look at the underside of this gear, and they both go to a notch, and then there's actually a hole on this top piece. So what I was doing is I just figured out that if I hopped this over one tooth, that I could stick my little, I'm going to call this a timing rod. Car guys can hate me. I was able to stick that through and check that by hopping it over a tooth it aligned it. I don't know how that came out of alignment because I never opened this up. But given the amount of grease everywhere from whoever repaired this in the past, I would say they might have mucked some stuff up. Okay, so just to show my error in putting this in, so you can kind of see where this is going wrong, I'm going to pop a tape in and just watch how... I will not stick my hand there. Watch this little guy and how it prematurely gets engaged with that little bump there. Engaged, not engaged. So this is just out a third. It's got this little lock on top of this white gear that you have a 33% chance of getting it right. So I'm just going to move it over one turn. Just, like, look at this. Look at all this extra grease that this person got everywhere. Like, no wonder my hands are disgusting after working on this. I don't know. I'm kind of lazy to clean all this up, but it's pissing me off. Step one, this little cover comes off. 12 Volt Vids has done a good video. I think his was a HS-U760. If you want to take a look at, actually seeing live footage of someone taking this apart, I find it hard to do one-handed. Then to remove the pinch roller, you spin it, lift up, and kind of pop the whole thing out like that. Put that over there, get grease all over your hands. And now I have to very delicately lift this little tower thing up without pulling all the weight gear below out and rotate it. Alright, I think I see my mistake. The little arm here was out too far because of the way these teeth mesh. So you can lift this little piece up And if you see here how these two gears are meshing correctly, and I do remember looking and saying that's how they should sit at resting. But instead, this gear was a few teeth over. So what that means is that this will not go as far into the VCR. Because see that arm there? This little bump on this rotary piece won't pull that arm out far enough. So I believe that's gonna solve it. And that was just me putting it back together after hopping those teeth. Let's give it a shot. All right, I think I got it back. So let's all the way down. It loads correctly, sits there. Really, this doesn't have auto play. Play.
At the Southwestern Bell Colonial.
Fast forward scan. Rewind scan. Stop. Rewind. Fast forward. Like everything in life, it's all about timing. Okay, so after all that headache of retiming this, I guess I could have just popped that goddamn switch out and cleaned it. But again, out of contact cleaner. So, oh well, at least now I'm not as afraid of tackling it because I've had this whole thing apart and at least I understand how it works. It's a lot less daunting if you just run the VCR through the motions, manually go back and forth, figure out exactly where each component is for. It's rather relaxing, but I don't want to ever do that again. Anyway, I think I'm going to just clean up the heads, clean up the transport, probably clean up any extraneous grease on here. My hands are all disgusting. Give it a bit of a cleaning, and then use it for a while. I'm just going to sell this one. I have no interest in it. I was just kind of giving it, and I'm like, oh, I'm tempted to hold on to it because I really like Mitsubishis for quality. And honestly, if this was a hi-fi model, I probably would. But the lack of hi-fi really, it kind of makes it useless for me. But whatever. And in doing some reading online, which I finally got around to doing, this is a 1996 model. And it looks like this same mechanism was used in the U560 and the U760. And Databits and 12-volt vids have both done videos on that. So if you want to learn more about, replacing that loading belt, my loading belt is fine, so I didn't touch it. Replacing the idler belt, I ended up replacing mine just because I thought that was the problem. The other one was a little spongy, but it was working. Neither of these belts had gone to goo like belts and other machines people were talking about, so I suspect when this was serviced in the past, it's had, a re-greasing, because this is all lubed up nicely. They did a horrible job of re-greasing things. Like, they didn't really clean anything. They just sort of put new grease on old grease, but it's working. I mean, everything seems to be working fine. The heads are, picture's clean, heads are clean. I don't expect to pull much dirt out of it. The only dirt that's really there is just the fact that it's been, sitting in a garage, getting covered in cigarette smoke. It's just like brushing your teeth. Ugh. I just had the most excellent nap in between this. Gave the front of this time to dry off. I cleaned it off. It was pretty disgusting. Cleaned off the top cover, did some cleaning inside here just to, I don't really think it needed it for function. Despite all that dirt, the head was playing fine, but it's good to do. I don't have the original remote for this, so I thought I'd bring out this beast. This on its own is worth a video. This is a Sony RM AV1100. If you Google this, there's not a lot of results. The AV2100 is quite popular. It came out around the 99-2000, and it was the fancy touchscreen universal remote. It had like a DVD button on here and everything. This one doesn't have a DVD button, and that's because this came out in 1992. Not only that, this wasn't sold by itself. This was packaged with a TV. It's a 32-inch Sony Trinitron TV. I'll probably be showing the manual that I found for it, because the codes for this are in that manual. So now if I go VTR3, that's what I programmed this as, and trying to film a touch screen is a little janky, but there we go. So I've got my little remote. This is not a nice remote to use. It's a resistive touch screen with a monochrome, very basic LCD. Let's turn the lights off in here so I can show a really crappy backlight. I think it might even be incandescent. Ooh, yes, a little incandescent bulb up there. This takes 6 AA batteries, 2 of which are completely independent and just for the backlight. Despite all these negative things I've said about this remote, it's still way, way better on batteries than that stupid Harmony 680 remote that I've been using in past videos. That thing takes 4 AAAs, and if you leave them in, it'll be dead in a week. It's awful. So I figured I'd give this one a try instead. You can even turn beeping on and off. How irritating. Alright, anyway. This is about the VCR. And hit play.
The idea is kind of easy. Well, the holes you see.
Wonderful picture. Excellent playback. It's got pretty decent sound.
They're all part.
Pretty damn good freeze frame with the forehead, dual azimuth, blah blah blah. No hi-fi, but you know, whatever. Can't win them all. I didn't even think that this was forehead because I'm so used to VCR manufacturers advertising that all over the door flap here. But it looks like all that relevant information, including the Mitsubishi name and model number, was on this missing door flap. This bugs me. I don't like having missing parts. Missing remote, missing door flap. Unacceptable. Take a look at the front here. See if I can get my reflection out of the way. We have a... I want to say it's a pretty bright display. I mean, it's medium. Lots of reflections here. I like the little reels on the front. Do they move?
The next hole you're going to see is one of the fiercest parts for you.
It does. What if I fast forward? Nice. Don't know what DTR is. Don't know what most of these things are. Not super familiar with Mitsubishis. They weren't very common here. Actually, what was more common was the Electro Home brand, which I believe was a Canadian brand. And they put their name on Mitsubishi products in the 80s and I think 90s. I think if you see an Electro Home from the 2000s, like an Electro Home VCR, it's probably a Funai. But at the time, they were rebranding Mitsubishis, so they're pretty decent. So yeah, there you go. This was just a quick little look at the inside and whatnot of this Mitsubishi VCR. You know, if it had the door here, it would have a pretty sweet look to it. It's quite handsome. I don't know how you would describe it. I like the look of a sort of a more subdued design on electronics. I don't like it when they're really flashy, like in the 2000s, where they started to do that like silvery, shiny plastic and everything was round and bulbous and tacky. This has got some class to it. That's the best way I can describe it. I'm probably not going to keep this one. It doesn't really strike my fancy. This is a good practical machine for playing tapes, but as far as just weirdness and character, it's pretty boring. So anyway, that's it.